All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Zigzag Leap. Today, I am talking to Allison Nelson, who is a business strategist that helps people break the ceilings off their business. Thank you for joining me, Allison.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun.
Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your business?
Sure. So first things first, I am a mother. And I have a 5-year-old little girl and I love her to pieces. And in my business, I teach women how to have a simple, intentional business that makes them money so they learn how to do it over and over on their own, right? Like I want to teach them and then I want them to grow their wings and fly, fly away. So that's what I do. I do it because I used to be in education and I was a program creator. And before that, I was trained as a school counselor. And before that, I worked in advertising. So I've had a few different lives, kind of like the title of your podcast, Zigzag. And so this job that I have now really gives me the permission really to do all of those things, right? To be the counselor, to be the educator, to help understand programming for my clients who want to create offers and offer suites and really how that works. And also just the advertising. And I have a public relations degree and just the writing and the advertising, all of the stuff that goes into marketing your business. So I love that I can use all of the skills that I've ever,
That's awesome.
in my many lives, and also that I can be flexible and present for my daughter, and be a good wife and be a good homeowner and a good dog owner and all of that stuff. So
that's awesome. So how did you get to this point, like in the midst of all the things that the world has been going through in the last 2 years? Because before this was a side hustle. And now it's front and center. How did that happen?
Right. Yeah. Yes. This was a side hustle. This was grown. The coaching business was grown out of a need for the audience that I had created, the community I created around my product-based business. And my products were not nearly as exciting to my audience as how I grew the business, how I did it with a 2-year-old at home, how I did it with no capital, right? Like all these things. So I created a blog and started talking about it in my sort of VIP Facebook group. And that just became more of what people wanted to hear. And then I got people sort of asking if I could help them. And I was like, well, I guess I could monetize this. So that's sort of where the coaching came into play. And yes, right around 2020, I had 2 clients. It was super side hustle. I literally talked to them when my daughter was in preschool for like the 2.5 hours, 3 days a week that she was in preschool, right? Because I was a stay-at-home mom. And my husband was like off working at his 9 to 5. And, I always wanted it to be more, but I kind of thought, well, maybe I have to wait till she's in kindergarten. Maybe I have to wait. What if I have another one? Like what, I just didn't, I had the fear there and I kept it small for a lot of reasons. When COVID happened, actually right before, my husband got word that he was only going to be working for 50% pay. His job was his job was very much an ebb and flow, his industry. And so they were in a like a downturn. And this is how they dealt with it. They would cut people at 50%. And it was awful. So we were like, oop, really scared. And then like maybe a month later after we found out about that news, COVID happened. And he got let go from his job on April 1st. So, just a couple of weeks into our quarantining. And so, that's kind of when I decided, or when we sort of looked at each other and we were like, look, like there's unemployment happening right away for people who get fired because of COVID. Right. So like, that's going to be okay. For a little while. It's not going to be great for a long time, but it's going to be good for a while. You're home now, you get to build this relationship with our daughter, and I'm going to take care of my 2 clients. And I'm also going to take care of the rest of my group. I had this Facebook group that I, started with my product-based business, and I sort of shifted them into more service-based, into coaching. And it was growing and people were active, and I knew they needed help the way I did. I knew they didn't have the answers the way I don't have the answers about what the hell is going on, right? And so I said, you know what? I had plans to sort of like release a 1-to-1 offer. I was like, I'm going through with it. Because my biggest thing is I don't want people to stay small. I don't want people to feel like they have to wait. Right. And I didn't want to feel that way either. And in order to lead my community, I had to show myself. I had to give myself the permission before I gave my community permission, really. I mean, like I can give them permission all day, but if I'm not walking the walk, and that's a huge part of my business. So I did it, and the business blew up at that point, and here we are, 6 figures, 2 years in a row, and not stopping. Just that's it. We added a podcast, we added a group program. That's now my signature offer, and so we're just we're rolling with it.
That's awesome. So I love the fact that you use the word permission there. So what does that word mean for you?
I'm a huge John Maxwell fan. Like I'm a junkie. And it comes from I was in network marketing for a while. And so you sort of get introduced to him. Mm-hmm. And I have a client now who has a lot of employees. So we sort of work on leadership with her. And I use him as sort of our guide to work on how to be a good leader with her. And, he sort of said something that struck me. So I don't remember. He has 70 something books. So please, I do not know which book it comes from, but he was talking about how in order to lead people, in order to really have leadership, and what that means is that you're giving people permission to be who they really need to be who they really came to be who they are, be the best version of themselves. And that's really what we're all trying to do. It doesn't matter what industry we're in, doesn't matter, what we do for work, we're all trying to do that. Right. And so I found the only way that I can give that permission to my audience, I can write content all day that's giving it to them, but if I'm not doing it myself. So it became this thing, especially around this time when COVID happened, and I had to sort of, I was transitioning out of being a stay-at-home mom to being the work-at-home mom, the one who's in the basement while they played upstairs all the time and took breaks for lunch, but that was it, right? And so that was a hard transition for me. So I had to give myself that permission that I'm here for a higher purpose. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to be my best self. And my best self really is that flexibility of that really good mom. But because I'm doing what I love and I'm helping women do what they love, I am the good mom. I am the good wife. And so, so that's kind of what permission means to me. And honestly, that's a daily thing. I'm not perfect at it. It's at least weekly, where it's just because you get caught up in the things that you might be missing, or you get caught up in the things that the balance of it all. People hate that word, the B word, but it's the truth. And so you have to be able to give yourself permission to try new things. And to make mistakes, because it's the only way we're going to learn. I've made so many mistakes in the past, 2 years that I've been doing this business really only. So many mistakes, right? And I had to give myself permission to be Allison, you might screw this up. This is new, this is different, but you're called to it. So great, you should do it. And I'm give you permission, but I'm also giving you permission to screw up. I'm not giving you permission, however, to screw up and lay on the floor. You got to get back up. Yeah. So none of that. So to me, that's permission means a lot of things, but I think leadership and permission have they go so hand in hand. And when you're talking to online business owners, if you have leadership, you might not know it, you might not feel it. You might think I only have 2 followers. I only have 300 people on my email list. There's only 100 people in my Facebook group. It doesn't matter. You have leadership, right? Because most of us, at least if we're priced the right way and we have the right boundaries, we don't need a shit ton of clients. We need, a few, right? So it's okay if your audience doesn't have that many. Yeah. Numbers are power, right? More is more, but that's okay. So I think permission and leadership go so hand in hand. Leadership is so valuable. And understanding that you are a leader when it comes to your online business is so helpful.
Yes, definitely. And I think that's the thing some people forget. Even if you're a freelancer, you're still in that leadership position.
Totally. Yeah.
So I know your husband works alongside you, right? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, he does. He was with the product-based business. We did it together. Now he has his own business, but because he's home, right? He's still home. And so he has his own business, but he will help me, which is great. Okay. So, yeah. And
so how did you guys work out that relationship?
That was tough. We had a lot of practice with the product-based business. So that was kind of good. But the product-based business was really probably easier because we shared it. Like we kind of knew like he's the technical side, right? Like it was t-shirts and we did print on demand stuff. So like he knew that kind of side and I was more the face of the business, the marketing, the writing and, the designing and all that stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. So that was like, we had our roles. But with this, it's harder because it's my business and he has a role inside of my business. But I think the number one thing, this is, I know, very cliche, but communication is huge. I need to be able to communicate clearly what I want. He needs to be able to say, I don't get it if he doesn't get it. And so we have to have that trust of like, I don't like, I'm telling you to do this. And it's really not, if you don't understand it, that's kind of on you. Right. And like, I think what's also really good is that we have the common goal because this is our family. This is our income. This is it. And so we have that common goal of like, well, we want to help people. And we also want to spend more time together and not together in our office, but together in the world. Right. And so, so I think that communication is huge. Knowing that we have that goal there. If there's ever a project, here's the goal first. Not just like, hey, can you produce this podcast episode? It's like, hey, here's the goal. This podcast episode needs to go out because it's really important for my community to know this at this time so that they're ready for this offer. So we can sell it and so we can make money and we can help 10 people instead of, 5 people. So can you do it?
I love that. You're like, you have to break it all the way down.
I mean, listen, men are very black and white. And I think when you know that, I'm very linear myself. I'm very like this, but, and I do sometimes have a harder time being creative when it comes to my business. I see all the possibilities for my clients for whatever reason, but when it comes to me, I'm like, no. Yep. But he's very black and white, right? So it's just when you know that, and I think that's men in general, when you know that, it's very easy, really a lot easier to talk to them because it's like, you just know, like it's yes or no. You can't be like, well, maybe this would be okay. That's not going to work for a man. Yeah. You can't be like, well, maybe that color. No, you have to decide if it's black or white and then tell him I want it in black or white. Like if you're working with men, ladies, like that's how we talk. That's just how it has to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that I know you had the product business first, but switching to a service-based business, like you said, it's a bit of a different realm. Yeah. So, there's a bit of a learning curve there. So just anybody that's watching, there is a learning curve there. It's not going to happen on day one as much as you wish it would.
No. And that's with any, I have a team members and man, like, they don't come on. I can hire the person that knows, Dubsado the best, but like, they still don't know my way of doing Dubsado the way I want to do it. So it's that collaboration sort of like they know Dubsado, but I have to tell them what I want Dubsado to do. And can they kind of bring the two worlds together? So, it's never, there's always like a little bit of a launching off point or some kind of probation period. And you just have to, even with your own family, you just have to be okay with that.
Yep. So. That you do.
No.
Why do you think so many people get stuck at, four figures a month, like $1,000, $2,000 maybe, when what they really want is to be sustainable? And like if you're going to be the breadwinner at home, $1,000 or $2,000 most likely isn't sustainable.
No. Yeah. I mean, that could cover a bill probably, which is great. Right. And like, I love that transformation for people because I think usually when you've made 1 or 2K, you actually can make 5 or 6. Right. And I think that's probably the number one problem with people who stay at 1 or 2K is that they really don't know that can be repeatable. I think a lot of times, unfortunately, in online business, we have created this hustle mentality. Hustle mentality will get you to 1 or 2K. There is no problem with that, right? We're good. Well, it'll get you there, but you will burn out and you will also have the mentality of, great, I got there in, let's say, December. But when it comes to January, what do I do now? Like, it's almost like you have to reinvent the wheel all the time. You have to burn your business to the ground. Yeah. And like, that's exhausting. Like, not only does it not work, it's exhausting and your audience is burned out also. Like your audience is not sitting there being like, oh, I wonder what she's going to sell this month. They're like, I wonder what she's going to sell this month. like, and you're coming up with 12
Yes.
different offers, basically, and you're not recycling anything. And I also think you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table, depending on what the offer is, depending on how much you're charging for it. So I think there's a lot of those kind of problems. And I think one of the best things you can do is really listen to yourself, which is hard to do with all the noise out there. So really just blocking out that noise and saying, okay, what do I want? And I find a lot of times that my clients don't have the business that matches what they want, right? Like the sustainability, the time. We all start a business for some kind of freedom, whether it's time freedom or financial freedom or creative freedom. I have a lot of clients that are like, hey, I want to make, $5,000 a month so I can pay for this yoga training that I want to do. So I could be a yoga teacher, have this, sort of 4K, 5K business on the side and do yoga for the rest. You just do yoga when I want to, teach it when I want to.
Nice.
Yeah. Do it for free, do it, whatever. I literally have a client that ended up doing that. And so I have another one she's great. And I had another one that started a blog. She wanted to start a blog, but she needed some money to invest in the blog. So she built a 4-figure business. She can invest in the blog. So she can make that grow, because that's really her passion. So we all start our business for some kind of freedom. And it turns out when we're stuck at that 1 or 2K, we have no freedom, right? Like we have like 10 clients. We're charging them like $100 each. We're doing all this client work or all these calls. If you're a coach or something, you're sitting on all these calls. And what kind of freedom is that? It's the opposite of what we said we wanted. But you can build a business without hustle. You can build a business without, just kind of falling for all the shiny squirrel stuff. You have to trust yourself, though. That's like a big part of it.
It's also the hardest part for most of us, because when you're making that transition, you're usually coming out of an employee mindset and being thrown into the CEO position, even if it's a side hustle. It's a very different mindset from, knowing that if you do A, B results, C is you get a paycheck.
Right.
Whereas over here on the flip side, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And the CEO, the visionary side of it, all of that, I was just telling a client earlier today, that's going to be uncomfortable. That's going to be uncomfortable like most of the time, right? Like that's how you know you're doing it right, though, is because you are constantly putting yourself in positions where you're like, oh, this is different. This is weird. Because if it felt comfortable, like it could still feel good and uncomfortable at the same time. But if it felt good and comfortable and cozy and this is like just going to be easy, it's going to be no problem. Like you've either been in business for 15 years and you have a team that's running it for you, or you're in that like school or corporate mentality. Because honestly, school teaches us to be good 9-to-5ers. And so we've had, even if you've not had like a traditional 9-to-5, you still most likely have that mindset from being in school. You show up, you get attendance, the attendance record is clean. Then you can graduate, done, right? You have to do a lot more, obviously, but like that's part of it. And it's just like, for us, we don't get accolades for showing up. It's just something we have to do all the time. Yeah. And it builds up to this point where then of course you get the client and all of that. Like I think baby steps and taking steps and all that every single day, like it does add up. But like we don't get an accolade that day. Like I don't do a live video and then like someone gets to pat me on the back or give me a gold star or pays me or something. Like every day I do a live video.
Right. It would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. Yeah. But like, I think that's kind of the thing, is that like, if you have this dream in your heart to play bigger, and, kind of create this life for your family, you can do it. But yeah, it takes those uncomfortable, moments.
It does. When you're working with your clients and you're trying to get them past that, past that 1 or 2K to make it actually work. What is one thing that you would say, like, do this first? So those people who aren't really sure that they need help, but they know in the back of their head that they do.
Yeah.
Like, what's one thing they can do so they can prepare to like walk into your space and say, hey, okay.
Yeah. I would say really, really understand what you're offering. A lot of people say that the ideal client is like the window that opens all the doors of your business, like, or opens, if it's open, then all the other, but I actually think it's offer. I think that if you have a really solid offer, and really a solid offer multiple offers. And they don't have to be a lot. Like I'm all about simple, intentional business. And some people will come to me with 12 offers. And I'm like, dude, this is not working, right? You don't even know all your offer. You don't even know what's going on. So I think like before you come, I guess, like pick an offer that you love, an offer that you've gotten results, an offer that you've loved, going through the process of yourself. Like, right. We have to love our business. We have to have fun. And let's refine that. Like, let's really figure out what that is, because I really do believe if you know your offer well, you understand what transformation it provides, what result it provides, I guess, then, kind of all the other doors are open. Then you know who's best for it. So your ideal client gets a little clearer. Then you know what content to write, right? Because right. You know how to sell people without being icky and selling them all the time. When you write content that funnels people to your offer, you are selling them every day. And that's what our job is as business owners. We have to sell every day. So I think that's probably the number one thing. That's something I always focus on. And I make sure it's sort of at the heart of what I do with my clients.
I love that. And sometimes for some people, the offer, what I've found is that the offer is often hardest to write because you have to like be really clear on your messaging and being able to say, what is that transformation? Like you mentioned, and a lot of people want to give you the features, but then the benefits are kind of lost in the shuffle.
That's right. And people don't really buy features as much as we think they do, right? Like, I think that's probably another reason why people stay at that 1 or 2K is because they've offered a butt ton of features. I just made up that word, butt ton, of features. And it's kind of put them in a situation where they're like, okay, I offered 3 bonus trainings. I guess I have to go and do those bonus trainings now. Or like I offered 5 calls. All right, well, I guess I have to do all those 5 calls. And you sort of get caught up in the features. And like, if your features don't match a specific reason, if they don't have a specific purpose, then they don't need to be there. However, in order to even know that, you do need to figure out what the result is. And, I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on one offer. I like one offer, I do, but like a full transformation probably has a couple of offers to it. And that way you can put your clients on a journey, and it grows you as the service provider or the coach too, because you're saying like, okay, I'm going to get you to this kind of result. That's like, a big part of this larger transformation, but it's really we're not quite at the 10, right? We're at the 5, which is great, but let's go into this offer so we can really get to the 10. Like, I think a lot of times we put so much emphasis on a transformation on one offer when really we can just put a great result on it. And then we can sort of add to it, go down, go up, whatever it is, right? Whatever you kind of have now and you need to build both ways, and like move people through it. So I think sometimes there's, that little bit of an issue,
Yes, that makes sense. I think the other thing that I've noticed, like in building the websites and funnels on the other side of the thing, is that people have a hard time selling. So if you have this wonderful funnel and your website is good and your social media is all there, but your social media doesn't actually have a call to action. So like, what you said a few minutes ago, our main job as a business owner is to sell. Yeah. And, yes, you have that employee side where you have to actually do the things, but you kind of have to sell in order to have something to do.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think especially with websites, that's probably where people really fall off. It's like if you don't have a call to action to click somewhere else, they're going to go to that little X, that red X in the corner, and like you're going to be done for. Yeah, so I agree. I think I recorded a whole podcast episode on calls to action because I am so obsessed with them. I think a lot of times, I did. It might have been a live video, so you have to check me on that. I think a lot of times, especially newer entrepreneurs, which is who my group program is really for, they they're too afraid to put a call to action, or like they'll put like a really like, oh, let me know if you liked this content. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, let me know, like, what is that? How am I supposed to let you know? Should I write you a note? Like, I don't understand. Like, no one's gonna do that, right? So like, just it doesn't matter what if you just want people to engage, like on social media. If the call to action is like drop a GIF, I don't know if it's GIF or GIF, or like, like put it, yeah, whatever. Put an emoji, like drop an emoji if you like this or whatever. Like if that's the call to action, great. That's okay too. Like it obviously has to be intentional, right? Like if that's what you wanted, but if you really wanted people to click over to the application of your like course or your group program or something, then you have to tell them to do that. Yeah. People are, they've got too much going on. And with COVID, before it was like hard, but with COVID, with everyone home, and it really hasn't, it's gotten better, but it's still not great. A lot of people are online. So you really have to be careful about what you say and how you say it and make sure it's kind of simple, like kind of treating people like, not like they're dumb, but kind of.
Like, it's just that that they have a short attention span. So it's like, give them exactly what they need to do. Because otherwise they don't need to do anything. They can just keep scrolling.
They'll go do whatever they want to do. They'll start, like everyone has like, it's not just our computers. In our heads, we have like 100 tabs open, right? So like, you have to be the one that's blinking and like playing the music and all that stuff. Like be that one that's like, and make it fun and simple. Click here, right? Like it's not, but definitely, especially on websites. Oh my gosh, you need to have calls to action.
Okay, so when you were starting out and making this transition, what are you glad that you did not know?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. What am I glad I didn't know? I'm glad that I didn't know probably around my Facebook group, which I love. That's my house. It's my home away from home, I always say. And, now there's so much out there about like how to grow it exactly and how to, how to convert, what to say and all of that stuff. And like, I have a mini course about it. Like I've fallen prey to it, right? Like I want to teach people how to grow and convert their groups. But I'm so glad in the beginning that I was sort of dumb about it. That like I sort of went live when I wanted to go live and said what was on my heart instead of like, ooh, is this message who should this be for? And when should I do it? And is it better to do it as a podcast episode? Or maybe it's an Instagram carousel, or maybe I should just do a story on it and then I'll repurpose it. Like, I'm so glad that I just didn't I just was like, I really feel strongly about this. And I'm waiting in the car for my daughter to get out of dance class. And I'm just going to go live and I'm just going to talk about it until I have to go pick her up. Right? Like, just like, I'm really glad that I was like, ignorance is bliss in a lot of ways. And while I'm so happy to have a plan, of course, and I think the plan got me to where I am, but there's no, like, we can't brush over the fact that for a year, I did what felt good because I didn't know better. And I'm really happy that I did that. So like, I'm really happy that I didn't know so much about like, algorithms and like this is what you should post and this is when you should post and all that stuff. Like forget, like I'm so glad I just went with my heart on a lot of that and when I grew it so that I could, like, that was what got me, that was where I learned the most probably. It wasn't until I was like, oh, there's a plan for this kind of thing. Like that's when I was like, oh, okay, have I been doing it okay? Like who needs all of that second guessing? Like I'm so glad I just kind of like didn't know to second guess myself. I was like, I think this is how this works. Let me just try it.
Okay, so you're glad you didn't know about the social media. And social media, I think that's the thing that threw me off because I was working for people building their social media. So, I want to make sure I do it right.
Right.
But, once you get to doing your own, it just makes it that much harder. It's just like, well, I wouldn't do this for somebody else. Well, it doesn't necessarily fit with their brand. So
right. I find a lot of done for you service providers feel that way, like they it's like this extra layer of that perfection, that perfectionism, like which all of us typically have. And then there's that extra layer of like, yeah, but like I do this so great for these clients. And what does it look like when I don't do it? So maybe you don't do it at all, or you really extra obsess over it or whatever. And it's just like not necessary, honestly, for most of it anyway. If being online and standing out means being yourself, then that's how you be yourself, by just trusting yourself. It's hard to do. It's not easy. I have conversations with myself all the time about it.
Right. I think that's the thing that kept me at like the $2,500 mark for the longest time is I second guessed everything. And like
Mm,
I would work an offer to the bare bones and then build it
yeah.
back up. And it's like, oh, nope, let's work it back down.
Right.
Like
Right.
for the longest time, it was finally, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to throw it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. And like it's so funny because there are people out there that need it in its imperfection, right? There are people out there that like don't see the imperfection the way you do.
Right.
And also I like, to be honest, an offer, a piece of content, whatever, it doesn't get better unless it goes out there. Like even the
Yeah.
act of you putting it out there, like gives it a chance to get better. But you letting it sit in the dark and reworking it and playing with it and fiddling with it and all that stuff, it doesn't have a fighting chance, and neither do
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah, I was doing yoga one day, and it's like in my meditation part, and it's like there are words on your computer that are dying a slow death because you won't release them to the world. I'm just like,
oh,
oh my gosh, that hurt my heart. That was so rude.
that imagery of like your words dying. Oh my gosh, that's a good one. That's what's so great
Yes.
about meditation is the imagery. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything you're saying is like, yeah, just put it out there.
Yeah.
What do you wish you had known?
That's good too. I wish I had known, this is one thing that I always still correct myself. I wish I had known that I don't have to do anything, that I get to do things.
Yes.
Like, yeah, like when I first started, and even like sort of like when things started to take off a little bit, I was like, well, I have to go live, or I have to put this out there, or I have to write this content. Well, I get to. Like I get, and even things that I wanted to do, like my client calls, I love my clients, but like there were times where I was like, well, I have to do this client call, but that would breed lots of like stress and negativity and stuff that didn't really need to be there, and I didn't even really mean for it to be there. But I definitely made my life harder a lot of times whenever I said I had to, and when I get to, it makes life so much better. Steve Harvey is like he's like my mentor. He doesn't even know it, but he is. I swear, like he's
awesome.
I like, if I could stalk him, I would. Like I would literally be that person. I love him. So I listen to everything he does. Yeah, he's the best. And so, he talks a lot about jumping too, and just like not making it perfect and all that stuff. But he said one time in one of his like motivation videos that like, when you understand that you get to do whatever you want, and a lot of times we feel the pressure of like, we have to, this business is it is the only money coming into this house. So there is a lot of times where it's a have to situation, right? But like, and like there's no denying that. And as much as you try to push the pressure away, it's there to a certain extent. But when I get to do things to grow this business, to grow that amount of money, to grow the amount of people I'm impacting, it feels so much better. And as long as I'm doing it because I have to, why not believe that I get to? So I think I wish that I did that a little earlier on, instead of like, well, I have to sit here, I have to do this, I have to stay at home and work, I have to do this, I have to stay up late. It's like, well, but I get to do some of those things.
Yes.
So
that's so true. There are so many people that I hear, complaining about the have tos. Yeah. And it's like, you have to provide for your family, but you get to do it from home. And that's where you could be providing for your family in some other way that was a whole lot less desirable. So be grateful.
Yeah. And I have clients that are like, well, I have to market myself on social media. I have to be on social media. Well, yeah, but not with that attitude. Right? Like you get to, and guess what? Like, yeah, maybe like if you decided Facebook is your place, then yeah, you have to go on the app every once in a while, right? Like you have to go there, but like you get to do it the way you want to. You get to show up the way you want to. You get to do lives or written or both or whatever, right? Like, so I think there's so much choice that we have that we sometimes forget or we sometimes don't think about because we take the fact that we can do this from home with whoever we want to online. We're helping people. I have clients in Canada. I mean, we're helping people internationally and stuff. Like we get to do this. This is a gift. This is a privilege. This is an honor. And I'll always treat it like that. sometimes we lose sight of that, which is one of the good things about having, someone in your corner, having support, listening to podcasts like this, because we do forget that sometimes, and the benefit of perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really easy to forget, especially one thing that I have found is hardest for me is the solitude. Like, I'm an introvert and I like to be by myself, but without these kind of connections, you can get really lost in your head, in all of your doubts. Like, everything that could come into your thinking shows up.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, we are our worst enemy in a lot of ways. Like, we're our best asset, but we're also we can be our worst enemies.
Right.
And when you don't have that strong sort of support system, keeping that best asset part a little more alive, that can really be tough. Yeah. Yeah. But then, of course, on the other side, we've got podcasts, there's tons of coaches, there's tons of programs. It can be so easy to find a community. It's just which one.
Right.
That can be hard.
Exactly. So I know you have a pretty tight-knit community. So can you tell everybody about your community and how they can find it?
Yeah, so it is on Facebook. It's called Empowered and Free No BS Marketing Strategies. And so basically that's what it is. We're in there and we're no BSing. Well, I mostly am no BSing, but people expect to get no BS. And so it's a fun place. On Thursdays, we do Market Thursday, so you can promote your business in your own post on Thursdays. On Saturdays, we have a thread for Small Business Saturday. And then throughout the week, we're asking about wins, struggles, goals, all that stuff. And we're all, we're all in community together. I have one community member who lost her job recently, a few weeks ago, and 3 other community members stepped up and they were like, you can go Instagram live with me and talk about your new masterclass. And another one was like, I can show you, this freebie I have on how to create a better sales page for your website. And it was so amazing. So it really is, it is such a tight knit community. I'm so proud of it. And yeah, but I would love for anyone who's a solopreneur to join us.
Perfect. And what is the name of your podcast?
It's called the Empowered and Free Podcast. So I tried to kind of keep it the same, so that people would, so that's a podcast. And we do weekly episodes on Thursdays.
Weekly on Thursdays. Okay, so I will drop all of this information under this video on Facebook. I will also have it on the YouTube video when that goes up and in the show notes on the website. Thank you so much for joining me, Allison. I really appreciate talking to you.
This was so great. I had so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, everybody. We will see you next time.
Bye.